Hello, today I'm going to be opening several items that I've been sent over here, and to help me today is my assistant Scott.
Hello.
Right, first item, and I had mentioned this briefly before, this is a replacement video head, beautifully packaged, for my N1502 machine. So it's N1500 N1502 Philips VCR format. And I aborted a repair of a N1502 a few weeks ago because the heads were smashed. So what I'm going to do is put these heads into my known working N1502 machine and see if these heads are any good. If they are, we can go ahead and fix that machine later. Right, let's get started. That's 1700, wrong format. That's not going to work. Scotty, could you first test my machine for me? So this is any old tape in my N1502, which should work, but I haven't tried it for some weeks. So flick the switch to the on position, the one that's in the middle there. And we might get a freeze frame if we're lucky. Does that look like, oh, that's not bad. Clearly the heads are working. Press the start button quite hard, Scott. We're having a bit of servo trouble. Right. We don't really need to worry too much about this servo problem though. That's good enough for testing heads with. I don't know why it's giving me trouble. Sometimes I find, oh look, it's working now anyway. Sometimes you have to fine tweak the audio control head settings on a sort of per tape basis with this format. But yeah, it's working. Very grainy tape, so we need to be wary of that. It's a grainy recording, so if the heads are good, we will still get a grainy recording. Okay, switch it off to the off position. Right, so we're going to take this machine apart and swap the heads out. Thank you, Scott. Right, changing the heads over in these machines is fairly easy. I won't need the monitor for a minute. Now, there's two screws on the back here. They've already been undone, so you'll be able to take the top off. Remove the tape. Take off the cassette carriage, switch off the machine power, unplug the connectors at the back because I find this is easiest with the machine sat on its back. Okay, open the cover here. Drop the power supply and control logic out the way. This is the bottom of the head drum. And what we don't want to do is lose this position of this drive belt. So I'm going to slacken off the grub screws and then pull the head off the top whilst keeping this in place. 2mm Allen key, just slacken off these grub screws. Okay, that's ready for us to pull off, but first I'm going to get the replacement head ready to install. And I've not inspected it under a microscope, but the person who sent it to me did do, and it has good head tips. So I need to unpack this. So here's the head drum that's going in. So I'm going to hold this one in place and withdraw the known good heads from this machine. Which are there. And carefully fit the heads to be tested. Right, let's do up the grub screws, and we need to leave a bit of end float. About 0.5 millimeter of end float, something like that. So this is not a video recorder you'd want to operate upside down. Okay, just a little end float in there. For safety's sake, I'll put this cover back on. Refit the cassette carriage. Power up. Okay, wish me luck. I'm not seeing a picture, are you? Oh, that looks like either one head is in and the other is clogged, or only one head is good. Let's give it a few moments in case it cleans itself up. Also, I'll try the tracking. Doesn't look good, does it? Okay, let's inspect them under a microscope. Perhaps we should have done that before we started. What do you think of that, Scott? Can you see the head tip there? That's that black thing there, right? Yeah. With the coils on it. Actually, this one time I'm going to use a bit more zoom on this microscope. See that nice and clearly. And what I'm looking to do is make the head glisten. If it glistens, you can see it's clean. I get a slightly better view of that than you do on the microscope, on the camera. I can see it shining across the top of the head, and for some reason it's not really showing that well on the camera. But yes, it's spotlessly clean, that head tip. So we don't have a dirty head on that side. Let's swing it around to the other side, because there's two heads, of course. Spotlessly clean. You can see just black on there, and I can see a shine of white light. And back to the first one, I think that head tip is worn out. It looks subtly different. The first one there that I looked at looks subtly different. So unfortunately, these heads are no good. Yeah, I'm fairly sure that's the good one, because it looks completely parallel across its whole length. And the other one, it looks a little bit dipped in on one side. So I think that one is worn out. So we'll have to refit the original heads and just confirm the machine still works. Okay, refit the original head drum. Try not to feel too disappointed. It will only qualify as a seriously bad day if I break the good heads now, or if they don't work anymore. So let's carefully refit the original heads. Okay, remove these heads which we believe are worn, but I'm still not going to treat them badly, just in case it is worthy of some more testing or checking later. Refit the known good heads. Great care. Tell you what we will do is we'll have a look at these under the microscope, looking down on the head chips. Okay, nicely fitted with a little end float. Reassemble the machine and test it. Okay, Scott, you can test it again. I do hope it works and we haven't done any more damage. So flick the switch to on. Why don't we have a picture? I'm suitably worried at this point. Press start. Oh, okay. I don't know why we didn't get a picture then. We're having a bit of that servo trouble again. Okay, nothing of consequence wrong with the servo problem. So the heads on this machine are still good. No damage done to this machine. We can put that away. Let's have a quick inspection of the rest of the head surface on the defective heads. You can switch it off now, Scott. This is one of the head tips from the apparently non-working heads, and you can see the gap there. It's kind of a triangular gap thing going on, and it meets at the edge, the face of the head. Let's have a look at the other side. I would say that's the good side. I would say that's the good head. So I think what's happened there is that the gap, where that triangular piece is, it's opening up because it's worn past the tip of the head. That's the bad one, I think. And that's the good one, I'd say. Would you agree? Would there be any chance of repairing a video head like this? I think the answer is no. And here's another worn out set while we're looking. I forget if this was 1500 or 1700. So again, I think that the wear has gone into that triangle Look at the other side of this set. That one, it's hard to say, a little bit grubby. So I think that's what the mechanism is that when they wear, that triangle opens up. Okay, rough with the smooth. Let's see what else I've been sent. Right. Operating instructions for an EV-S550E. This is a Video 8, not High 8 mains machine. And I can see the word U-matic under there, so we have some more interesting things in there. That's a smart looking machine, isn't it? So it's the EV-S550E PAL Stereo Video 8. In the days before High 8, this probably was the very pinnacle of Video 8. I mean, this is a smart looking machine. So you can change your remote control command if you have several for editing, SCART connector, composite, audio and video in and out. Of course, there's no S-video for this one because it's low band Video 8. And a suitably complicated remote control to go with it. What else do we have here? So operating instructions for that one, and some information on Sony U-matic. Let's have a look at what we have here. So this was when U-matic was king. Since its introduction in 1969, the U-matic recording system has made Sony videotape machines an essential ingredient in all areas of TV production. Wow, they've put some work into this, haven't they? Mm. Which of these machines do I have? The VP7040, that is a multi-standard one which can do PAL, NTSC and CCAM, playback only, but very disappointingly, it only handles low band tapes. It won't do high band or SP tapes. If it did, it would be a lot more useful. VP9000P, now I have a VP9000, which is the NTSC equivalent of that one. So it's a player which can do high band tapes. But where that one fails is it doesn't have any dub output sockets, which would be a good idea. And there was a companion recorder for it. This is very helpful actually. It really tells you what all the models were at that time. Oh wow. If this information's not already widely available elsewhere, I could scan all these in, couldn't I, and make them available. That would take me a while. There's a lot here. BVU 900p. This is the one with a selection of buttons there. For things like switching in the TBC, I think. Oh, yes, and this has dynamic track following for perfect trick functions like V2000. What I don't see in any of this is a time-based corrector. And monitor guide. Oh, okay, for Sony monitors. These would all have been CRT, of course. Including black and white. Why would you want a black and white monitor? And all the different monitors. Oh, and the same sort of thing, a little flyer for each one. I really do not want to scan all those in, it would take an age. And unfortunately, people just don't care about monitors anymore. And cameras. Look at that. 3-chip CCD color video camera. That's just the camera, that's not a camcorder. So you'd have that with a separate recorder. Wow. All very expensive stuff. Accessories. You'll notice this remote control here looks spookily similar to the remote control used on some Sony Betamax video recorders. It's almost like it behaved like one company, the professional and consumer division. Oh, here we are. You can see in more detail what's going on with these fancy buttons. Yes, one of them is for TBC, Dolby, time coding, and price list. In March '89. Wow, this is going to be some expensive stuff. That includes their Video 8 equipment. So, top of the range, high band, VO9850p, just under £6,000, and that'll probably be plus the VAT, thank you very much. Similarly, time-based corrector, serious money. I can scan some of this in if people want me to. Right, before looking at that anymore, shall we test this Sony 8mm deck? I gather it doesn't quite work. Okay, we have the machine powered up and the display is flashing a clock very dimly. Okay, let's see if it mechanically runs. Yes, it took the tape. That's an unusual noise. Let's try and press play. Nothing. It made an odd noise, didn't it?
Sounded like a car.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. Can it eject the tape? Oh well, it can eject. Let's take the lid off and see what's going on inside. Shall I set you up so you can look down on the deck? Okay, let's try a different tape. And it stalls ahead again. That's unusual. On a previous occasion when I've seen this happen, trying a head cleaner tape can help. Why is it not taking the tape in at that point? I'm going to give it a bit more of a shove than it should take. Why is that? Strange. No. Interesting. I might see if I can help it to get into the fully laced position, even with the head stalled. Why is it not accepting the tape now? It's gone off. The machine's gone off. Can't get my tape back now. That's annoying. I'll power it down. And up again. Oh. You know what this smacks of, don't you? It's got a power supply fault. That's what's wrong with this machine. It has a power supply fault. Oops, come up now. Okay, give me the tape back. I'm fairly sure that we have a power supply fault here, not a mechanical one. Because sometimes when I'm switching it on, I wasn't getting anything at all. Now that's operating properly now. If I put a tape in, power cycle it, let's see what happens. Off. On. Got a bit further that time. Power cycle again. It's pretty much laced then. Power cycle again. It's on now. But nothing's happening. Let's press play. Nothing. One more power cycle, then I'll eject the tape, and I think we need to look at the power supply. Okay, eject if it will. Okay, switch it off. Where is the power supply? It's this big unit here, which reminds me a little bit of the way they've done the power supply on the big monsters like the EV-S550E, which is quite nice in a way because you can get the whole power supply out fairly easily. Perhaps we'll have a quick look at that. Can you stick your nose in there and tell me what, if anything, you can smell? What can you smell?
And the fish.
Yes! That's exactly it. So what does that tell us? If we're an electronic engineer and we smell fish, what do we say?
It stinks.
It stinks, and we say capacitor trouble. It looks like you have to take the bottom off in order to disconnect the cabling, so that's what we'll do. I like it when they build them like this, where you don't have to take the screws completely out. You can just slacken them off and then slide them through the slots. Sanyo do the same thing. Right, here's the connector to the power supply, so we need to unplug these cables here. I like to grab the plug rather than the cable, but it's just not possible here. Now we can take the machine away and work on just the power supply. That's neat, isn't it? If Sony consumer products can be designed to be fixed like this, why is it Panasonic can't make professional products that you can get apart and work on? So I'll go through this with my ESR meter, this wonderful thing, and I've covered this before, that I've modified this so it has a foot switch, so I can operate it by remote control, which is helpful. And I suspect that this big high voltage capacitor here is fine. I will test it. The problem is going to be here in these low voltage capacitors. None of them are visibly bulging, but they will partly or all be defective. I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of gunge appearing on the bottom there, at the bottom of that capacitor, so it's obviously oozing electrolyte out of these capacitors. Right, that's going to take some time. Okay, I'll work on this power supply over the next few days, replacing the capacitors in there, and then we'll see if it works. In the meantime, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from my helper.
Bye.
And please remember to like, share, and especially subscribe, and I'll do a lot more content on audio and video technology in the near future. Bye for now.